All right, well, let's stay on the subject of buying vehicles. Man, I tell you, what we're about to talk about smells all over to me. I don't know, man. I really don't know how much I agree with this, but we'll see. Keith, what's your sense on this? Let's get people into this. So.
So now this is going to come as a surprise to you, Jay, and far be it from me, who usually I'm the first of the two of us that will step into controversy, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm usually the guy that if you hang it out there, I'm gonna like go after that carrot on a stick. But
right,
I'm concerned about this, okay, but I want everyone to know, I want our audience to know that I am not presenting this as a, boy, I got to be careful here. So we think this is what Nissan is doing, okay? It seems like it's a bad idea, and we'll get into what it is in just a minute.
If you're an economist, you would say it was, yes.
But I also know that there are probably details in this that we don't have. And so that's the part right there that I'm just going to caution everybody. We don't have the 100% full story here. We have some pieces, okay?
We do.
And look, as proof that we are Nissan fans, we just finished a segment on this podcast earlier, a couple segments back, on the Z, okay?
Right.
I've owned a Z. We've both owned Nissans. We're Nissan fans. This is not.
Check out our Frontier Pathfinder video we shot from a few
Go over on YouTube.
Few podcasts back. Go to youtube.com/Parts Counter Gurus. Subscribe while you're there and check that video out. Which, by the way, that video has really got some traction. So.
Right. So, and I say this all the time, and it's like, the coach thing, right? Or what I say to my kid, like I'm hard on you because I expect more from you, because I want the best from you. I say it about Apple all the time. That's why I'm busting Apple's chops all the time, right? Because they can do better. They're capable of better.
Love, man.
So the thing with Nissan is, we know, we've joked about it, they've been in trouble for a while. Ever since their leader, their former head escaped in a cello case or whatever.
Oh, right.
Crossing borders. But there is apparently some subprime lending going on in the Nissan organization. And those of you, first of all, you hear that word and you just think back to the recession of 2008. And we know in the housing market, that's what helped cater to the collapse of the economy. Now, I'm no economist, okay? I'm not a financial expert. I'm not trying to be... I'm just, in layman's terms, going to kind of oversimplify this a little bit and say basically what it looks like. Again, it appears on the surface what Nissan is trying to do here. And I'm getting some of my information from Jalopnik, which right there, I need a little bit more information. But they are trying to sell their vehicles to people that really, from a financial standpoint, should not be approved credit-wise to buy a vehicle. They're not able to get them approved through standard financing channels, through traditional banks or Nissan Motor Finance or whatever it is. So they are working with some third-party lending partners, and basically that lending partner will loan the money to the buyer and take on some of the responsibility for the debt should that buyer fall through, should that buyer be unable to fulfill their payments, right?
Right. And it's kind of a, look, we've fallen on desperate times now. The timing of this bothers me, if this is definitely what's going to happen, because, they're rolling out stimulus checks. And
right. So why are we sending people money if things are fine? Right.
That's where I'm going with this. Is that it's a baiting. I mean, and it bothers me because I mean, I'm not real sure of the motivation here.
Well, that part's clear. They need to sell cars,
mean,
and they'll do.
Well, I know that,
and they're willing to take
that,
higher risks.
But the tactics that go in with subprime lending,
right?
If you look back in history of how those things happen, there are people's lives that have been ruined because of the subprime lending practices, and their credit history. If you know, there are stipulations within these subprime lending practices that can really hurt you. So you have to be very careful. I know it's like it's attractive. You know, these folks wouldn't lend me money.
If you make $300 a week, you can get a car. Come see me down at the old. Yeah, I know.
Exactly. Which, by the way, Cars Direct reported on this as well. And that's. They're a reliable source as well. So we don't know. We're just basing this on what we're seeing being reported.
So dealers in the Nissan organization. Now, this launched on March 16th of 2021. If they can't get their potential buyer approved through their traditional financing channels, and they have some that are banks, and they have some that's Nissan, Nissan corporate lending or whatever.
It's called Signature Access Subprime Dual Pass-Through Program, by the way.
That's what they're calling the program.
That's actually what they're calling it.
And the dealers can then leverage that program, and they can send those credit applications out to lenders in that subprime dual pass-through program.
And that's where one of the problems begins, Keith.
Yeah, and as far as Nissan's concerned on the surface, hey, we're making sales, right? We're hitting our numbers, whatever.
That's right.
First of all, it's a big commentary on if Nissan is willing to take this risk, the situation that they are in as a company right now, and it ain't good, okay? Because I really don't see a company that's stable doing this right now. GM had a tough year last year. They lost a lot of money. They're not doing this as far as I know. Ford's not doing it.
There's a lot of incentives out there. There's some really good deals out there.
Toyota's not doing it.
Nope.
Right? Man, I don't.
So, to give you a little bit more background on it, folks, and this is according to these sources, they decided to go with a couple that do not have a really good track record with the Better Business Bureau.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. That's when I learned of this, I thought, gosh, man, I just don't. Why, man? I mean, Nissan is really on a roll right now with bringing back some really great vehicles.
So star ratings at like BBB rankings is out of 5. I think it's out of 5 stars. They're both stars. In the 1.0 something.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, at best, just a little over 1 star.
Keep in mind that most of the people that fill out surveys and complete reviews are people that have had a bad experience, right? Meaning, the people with the good experiences don't take the time to. That's just kind of the way we are as humans. They don't leave positive feedback. Some do, but I think the ratio of people that are motivated to complete follow-ups, it's usually those that have a complaint. So understand that you have to be a little bit objective with this. That said, the BBB is ridiculously easy to dismiss a BBB complaint. And let me give you an example. I had a Toyota 4Runner. I had a Toyota dealership in the town that I lived in that I had somebody hit it, and I had to have a part of it repainted. And I pulled the thing off the lot, and it was like orange peel, paint overspray on the tires. I mean, just like, did a 12-year-old, did you give him your Binks gun and let him go to town, right?
Yeah.
So I took it back. They agreed that it wasn't, I don't even know how their quality control passed it out. Well, Jay, that went on 4 times. And by the 4th time that I took it back and there was still orange peel in the paint and there was still overspray on the tires, I was like, we're done, dudes. I don't continually have time to keep bringing you my vehicle and be without a car. So I sent a letter to the BBB. Well, like, they just sent some nonsense response back that said, we want what the customer wants and we're happy to continue to work with them until it's resolved. Well, that's great. That's whatever, right?
Sure.
And the BBB went away. So to get yourself into a 1-star rating with the BBB, that takes some work. That's not you pissed off a couple customers.
You got some explaining to do, man. You know, I mean, there's just there's a number of reasons why. You know, a couple of these lenders. Let's see here. Complaints are wide-ranging, they say, from payments being posted to customer accounts late, and having that negatively impact their credit score, not through their own doing. These are the lenders posting these late, and not the consumer.
Yeah.
And
there's standards that they have to follow to post those payments that apparently they're not.
Absolutely. Right? And then one of the sketchiest things is like requiring a double payment at the end of a loan if the last payment is lower than the regular payment amount. I mean, complaints over things like overpayments not being returned, processing auto pay payments early and charging a daily late fee on payments that were mailed on time. That just doesn't paint a pretty picture for these individual companies.
Yeah, the subprime lending. Yeah, it's not good, man. They don't have a good reputation. Now, to be fair, you know, there is a reason that most traditional lending institutions won't touch these customers. There are reasons for that. It's not because they're that old banker's mean, right? It's because they're in most cases. Credit is earned, right? And there are marks on these people's credit that they have earned, right? I'm not saying things can't happen that aren't your fault. I'm just saying in general, the majority of these people have bad credit for a legitimate reason. Okay, so you've got to expect that the process of bill collecting with those folks is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit tougher. Sure it would be. Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to be a little bit more difficult to deal with, but how about just don't sell a car to somebody that can't really afford it? Sometimes you got to think for them, man. I mean, I'm again, this is very relatable to the housing issue that we had back in 2008 when the market just completely crashed because they were loaning money to people and approving loans for homes that people just had no business buying. I mean, we're talking, a $500,000 homes where people couldn't afford a $150,000 home, and they're getting the loans for them. And I remember during that time frame, my wife and I going out for a loan and we being approved for that up to that ceiling. You're approved up to. Right? And I'm looking at them going, okay, yeah, and who's going to pay for that? Right. I know I'm approved, but who's going to pay for that? Because I can't. I'm a smart guy. I know how much money I make. I don't know where you're coming up with your math, but that doesn't work into my budget. Sadly, my favorite was the stated income. It's like, no, I don't really want anybody looking into my tax returns. Can we just do stated income? And they're like, sure. Tell us what you make.
Two of the biggest purchases that you'll ever make in your life are going to be an automobile and a home. And those purchases are full of emotion. And you dangle a carrot in front of somebody's face that really wants that car. And we're going to give you the money for it, man. But you know what? If you miss one payment, we're going to cut your leg off. I mean, it's like people they don't think sometimes. So I think there is some unfair practices with this, and I personally would like to see where this goes and revisit this at some point, but I don't know, man. I don't know if it's a smart move for Nissan here to allow that to happen. Now, are these an authorized? Are they actually corporate program?
Dealers have access to that channel according to the information that we have.
In other words, the Nissan lending channels are saying, no, we're not going to borrow, or we're not going to allow these folks to borrow the money for this car. However, here's a program we have. You're on your way. Go ahead. And we authorize that to be done. So it's got their fingerprints on it, man.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how does that make you feel? I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, I can't be the only one that looks at this and goes,
nothing in this is good from my perspective. And I hope you guys that are longtime fans of the show, that have seen more than a couple episodes or listened to more than a few, I can hear it. Jay, I sound probably very different right now in this segment that we're talking about than I think I probably ever have on this program. Would you picking up what I'm laying down? Like,
I do.
I'm not, this isn't, I'm really worried. Like, this is it. Okay. So again, back to kind of beginning of the podcast, here in the United States, as the auto industry goes, so typically does our economy. Not all. I'm not saying it's a sure thing. I'm saying historically speaking, that has been the case. That's why people watch car sale numbers. There are so many red flags in this.
Oh, absolutely.
I hate to be Debbie Downer. You know, yeah.
Well, and again, we are just observers, and we like getting information out. So like to throw that disclaimer out there. If you want to go buy a vehicle and you know that you can afford it under those circumstances, by all means do it. But just understand that, as with any loan, there are going to be things that can come back on you if it's not done appropriately, and just be careful. Now, if you do go through one of these subprime lending agencies, watch your transactions. Just make sure. Just cross your T's and dot your I's, because that's what it will take maybe. If these guys have this low of a rating through Better Business Bureau, then just know what you're getting into. So, I don't know, man. Think it's got some guy back there cracking his knuckles waiting?
Honestly, I mean, we joke about that, but I don't think we're far from it, you know?
No. So, I mean, it almost sounds like these guys, the repo practices that occur with some of these too. That's scary, man. Just you wake up one morning, you go outside, and you miss a payment, and your vehicle's gone. But you signed the dotted line. You signed it, so they're legally they're bound legally to the contract, as you are. So until otherwise proven guilty for otherwise. So there you have it. So wow, just this will be interesting, and I want to come back to it because I kind of think that maybe over time this may not occur, and I'm just going to put that out there. My thoughts that hopefully the wiser minds will prevail,
right?
And because there's nobody else out there in the industry doing this right now, and it could come across as ugly. And I don't think Nissan really needs this right now. They're really on a roll with what they're doing. So that's all I have to say about it.
All right, so
be careful, folks.